Please do come over.
Let's humble ourselves. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for all the lives of people who are here. We dedicate this day to you, Lord. Be amidst us as we celebrate this year's World Tourism Day. We pray all this in Jesus' name we believe. Amen.
Thank you very much. You can now take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, we welcome you to this venue this morning. This is very important for us as a country, as a sector and industry, because today we are celebrating the Pearl of Africa and all its endowments. It's no wonder, Honorable Minister and ladies and gentlemen, that people travel all those kilometers and miles to come and visit Uganda, because we are a must-visit destination. That's very important for us as a country. Today we are talking about a very important theme, tourism for inclusive growth. And we couldn't have had this at a time better than now. Our colleagues in the private sector can testify to this, because whoever thought that tourism was something to play with, I'm sure all of us now are feeling the pinch of how it has been affected by the global pandemic. It therefore makes sense, Honorable Minister and ladies and gentlemen, that we gather here today and celebrate this very important day for our country. With us is a program which I want to share with you, and we have already received guests who have arrived. We have already received our Minister of State for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Honorable Mogara Martin Bahinduka. You are most welcome. And we've also sung the anthems and had a prayer. By way of sharing with you, we'll have opening remarks by the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. We'll also have remarks from the resident representative of the UNDP, and then the Minister will speak. We'll have a presentation on the state of tourism in Uganda amidst the pandemic, and the person to do the honors is Mr. Riada, who happens to be the Assistant Commissioner in the Ministry. And then we'll have a presentation on tourism for inclusive growth, in line with our theme today. And the person to do the honors of making that presentation will be none other than Mr. Kayongo Alan from our sister agency, the National Planning Authority. We'll also hear about greening tourism in Uganda, and we are privileged to have Mr. David Dooley, the Country Director of Worldwide Fund for Nature, who happens to be with us, and who will do the honor. Thereafter, we shall break into a plenary session that will be moderated by a person that will be communicating to you. And then we'll also go into aspects of financing of the sector. Mr. Samuel Edem Maitum from the Uganda Development Bank will give us a talk on access to financing, because this is one of the key areas for us as a sector, especially our colleagues in the private sector who badly need this finance. Because the fact remains that whereas tourism is government-led, it is private sector-driven. Therefore, I believe this will be very helpful to our colleagues in the private sector. And then we will also have to hear about equitability in the tourism sector in Uganda. And we are privileged to have none other than the former CEO of UTB, who is now the Director of Policy at the Private Sector Foundation in Uganda. Mr. Stephen Asimwe will do the honors of taking us through this. We'll have an interlude and a moderation, and then later we will have the launch of the Services Directory and tour maps. And also we have the launch of the marketing strategy of the handcraft and souvenir project. That will be followed by a photo moment. We'll go for lunch and departure will be at leisure. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our program for today. It is as short as this, but like I said, detailed with all that we need to have covered therein. Yes, I've been corrected that the presentation from our sister agency, National Planning Authority, will be delivered by the Executive Director himself, Dr. Mvawala, and we are privileged to have him here today. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, allow me to invite the Permanent Secretary to come and make opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The British Prime Minister says that, removing a mask when you are talking to distinguished guests is an act of dishonesty. But because this is my first time, I just want to take off the mask for 1 minute so that you can see who is talking to you. I want to correct that I'm not the Permanent Secretary, but I'm the Under-Secretary standing in for the Permanent Secretary. And the Permanent Secretary, Madame Doreen Katsime, is not here with us today because she's been engaged in an unequally important activity outside the country. So allow me to show you my face, then put my mask back. This is the face of Kakula Kirome Samuel, the Under-Secretary of the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. As I said, I'm representing the Permanent Secretary who is not here with us. So the remarks I'm going to give are the Permanent Secretary's remarks. I normally fondly call her as Mama Tourism. When I phoned her, I didn't want to call her Doreen because she's so passionate about tourism in Uganda. So I normally refer to her as Mama Tourism. So the remarks are for Mama Tourism, who is not here with us. Thank you. Honorable Minister of State, Honorable Martin Mugara, who is our guest of honor this morning, Honorable Members of Parliament here present, the Deputy UN Representative who is here with us, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors and the commissioners who are here representing your various missions and embassies, chairpersons of boards and boards of agencies, members of those boards, staff from various ministries who are represented here this morning, distinguished members of the tourism fraternity, management of Kampala Sheraton Hotel, the media, ladies and gentlemen. I want to take this humble opportunity to welcome you all to this celebration of the World Tourism Day 2021. Allow me, in a special way, welcome my Minister of State, Honorable Martin Mugara, who is attending this celebration for the first time in his official capacity as the Minister of Tourism. Honorable Mugara, you are most welcome. On behalf of the people present here, on behalf of the ministry, I want to congratulate you for your appointment to this sector. Colleagues, Honorable Mugara is as passionate and energetic as Honorable who? Honorable Godfrey Chiwanda was. His Excellency the President could not have found a good replacement for Honorable Chiwanda. So I want to assure you that upon his appointment as Minister of State, Honorable Martin Mugara hit the road running to demonstrate his passion, and he has already visited our conservation areas where we have human/wildlife conflicts. That demonstrates the person we have now, the person who is our guest of honor this morning, the person who will be talking to us. So, Honorable Minister, you're most welcome. In a rather special way, I would like also to sincerely welcome our development partners from the World Bank, from UNDP, from the European Union, from our sister ministries and agencies, and also to welcome the key drivers of this sector, the private sector holders. You are most welcome. Colleagues, celebrating this year's World Tourism Day comes at a very difficult time. As the Master of Ceremonies has already indicated, we have been working under the effects of COVID. So it is therefore my humble congratulations to you all that you have survived right from the time COVID came and you are still alive today. I thank God for that because it's not a simple achievement. Can we clap for ourselves? I understand that, on the contrary, many of our colleagues, great personalities that have played a key role in the development of tourism in Uganda have lost the battle against COVID. Allow me to sing out just two personalities. I want to sing out Mr. Alhaji Bulaimu Muwanga Chibirige of BMK. He sadly passed on recently. You know the BMK fame in Uganda. He was so passionate about tourism. He invested heavily in tourism facilities. Allow me also, in a special way, to recognize the passing away of Dr. Gideon Badagawa of the Private Sector Foundation, who also lost his life to COVID-19. I want to say, Doctor, in his own way, was so passionate about finding funding for the sector. I don't want to suggest that these are the only people who have lost. I understand one way or the other, we have either directly or indirectly lost a relative or a friend. May the souls of our deceased friends rest in peace. Colleagues, honorable ministers, the theme for this year's World Tourism Day is Tourism for Inclusive Growth. Building inclusive businesses holds the key to unlocking Uganda's tourism potential. This encompasses business approaches that directly improve the lives of the poor by making their core businesses part of the value chain as suppliers, distributors, retailers, or customers, etc. Colleagues, over the past 2 decades, Uganda has witnessed a strong economic growth, and since I have Mr. Muvala here, I don't want to emphasize this point because he's the guru on the statistics about economic growth in Uganda. But the point I'm trying to say is that we have witnessed a strong economic growth. Now, this economic growth has been a result of a number of contributions from the various sectors of the country. However, in the last 2 or 3 years, tourism has come out strongly, more stronger than most of the other sectors, to become one of the main contributing sectors to our economic growth. We do therefore deserve to be here, and we do therefore deserve to clap for yourselves. Can we clap for ourselves? Colleagues, despite this rapid growth, we note that many communities and low-income persons are still existing, and yet most of our tourism facilities are found in their vicinities. These poor communities remain excluded from the benefits of the sector's growth this issue needs to be addressed urgently. We need to bring on board our people who are living closer to what we are using to market and bring in foreign exchange for our country. Therefore, this theme for this year's celebration, Tourism for Inclusive Growth, should focus in one way or the other on bringing together and sharing benefits which come from the tourism industry so that our poor people can equally benefit. The potential of tourism becoming one of the world's leading employment sectors, providing important livelihood opportunities, including alleviation of poverty and driving inclusive development, is immense. The tourism sector plays an important role in fostering multicultural understanding and raising awareness on the need to preserve our culture and national heritage. I want to note, colleagues, that despite this immense potential, despite this promising picture, the tourism landscape today is very worrying. We have and we read in reports in the media that businesses are closing. We also read that traffic has reduced, especially in key attraction areas around the country. This is something that is worrying for us. We're in the sector and are struggling to promote tourism. Of course, I understand that this situation has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic and calls for an urgent and synergized response to deal with these threats. On the part of government, and in particular on the part of the ministry, we acknowledge that these challenges and their implications on the growth of the tourism sector need to be addressed. In response, as a sector, we have consulted widely and developed a three-pronged continuity and sustainability plan to address some of these challenges. This plan focuses on the following three key areas. One, health and safety for both our operators, the tourists. We are focusing on financial recovery for our investors who are putting their money in the sector. And also we're focusing about promotion Uganda, especially in terms of marketing Uganda as a destination. To achieve this, a number of policies are in place or are being put in place for the purpose. No wonder that over the period, the sector has, despite the challenging circumstances, continued to grow. I'm glad to acknowledge that the developments of, say, Hilton Towers in Kibale, Marriott Hotel in Zambia, Brevard Sands Vessel Lake Victoria, and the various expansion programs undertaken by our investors are living examples of what we have done to continue promoting tourism. I wish, therefore, to thank those private sector players who have continued to invest in the sector, and they have continued to put in great work. Secondly, I wish to note that tourism is slowly rebounding, but the rebounding is progressive. This slow recovery is testimony that people are still willing to travel to Uganda, and we hope that as soon as COVID is over, they will continue to do so. So that renders the future promising. Colleagues, I want to say on a positive again that there is growing interest for domestic tourism. We have seen a number of travels by Ugandans going to our facilities, and this is nothing I take for granted. Of course, I recognize that local tourism should be the backbone of our tourism industry, and therefore note that campaigns such as Tulambule Campaigns such as Take on the Pearl have started yielding results. More needs to be done in terms of improving travel and accommodation infrastructure and facilities. As a ministry, we commit to this policy direction, and I call upon all of you and all Ugandans to plan and undertake tourism as an integral part of their livelihood. The other important development I want to emphasize is the increased uptake of digitally enhanced provision of service and promotion. You all know that these days we are using e-systems both to promote tourism but also to provide service. I say this is one positive of COVID. The rest have been negatives, but the advent of COVID has forced us into digital systems. This has catalyzed the transformation of the hospitality industry, and I wish to request the private sector, who are the main key players, to continue with this trend. Let us not think of stopping investing in digital communication, digital marketing when COVID goes away or when COVID recedes. We should continue investing in that area. Ladies and gentlemen, we have also focused on product diversification. A number of efforts are being taken in this area. For instance, you know of the cultural tourism development, like the Kyoto Hampango Festival that recently took place in Toro. We also have engaged with the music industry, and we successfully held the Pearl of Africa Star Talent Search. We're now focusing more also on using sports as another area to promote Uganda. I want to thank UTB, the team led by the Chief Executive Officer, who have continued in this area of trying to think out ways we can diversify our products. I know UTB has partnered with Joshua Cheptegei, for instance, for this purpose. Please continue. There are so many other sports people. Colleagues, these initiatives have helped to promote awareness and appeal about our country, Uganda. As I intend to conclude, I want to say that the trends and concepts I have briefly highlighted above are part of the themes that this policy dialogue will investigate and discuss during the discussions and presentations that are going to be made to us. They form part of the core strategic direction that the government would like to pursue in the recovery journey, and more importantly, in repositioning Uganda as a preferred tourism destination. Allow me, therefore, to extend allow me, therefore, to extend the ministry's appreciation to government as a whole for the commitment in establishing a peaceful and stable environment that is necessary for tourism to survive. The focus on the development of infrastructure for utility and communication continue to strengthen our investment priorities. In the same vein, I wish to thank our development partners. Shortly before I came here, I was talking to the deputy UNDP rep, and already she was talking about investments, direct investments that promote tourism. In her and her supervisor, we have two personalities that are passionate about helping Uganda. Madam Deputy, you're most welcome for this effort. I thank the private sector players who have stood firm. Without you, this COVID would have put Uganda down. When I was talking to the manager, Sheraton Kampala Hotel, he told me that their accommodation figures are beginning to pick up now. They have more residents coming on board, and therefore they hope that if we continue vaccinating our people, they will get more people coming to stay here. This is a good development. So I want to thank the private sector players who have kept faith with the sector. They have continued to invest. But they have also, in spite of the challenges they have financially, they have continued to maintain their facilities. I want to thank the organizing committee led by the Commissioner of Tourism Development, Madam Kovtaj, for organizing this year's celebrations. It was not easy because of the effects of COVID. I want to thank Sheraton Kampala Hotel for always being a good member from the private sector who accepts willingly to host our celebrations. I hope this is the 3rd year running, I think so, when we are celebrating World Tourism Day at the Sheraton. We thank you and your team for that gesture. Members, I note that in spite of the efforts, a number of challenges still persist. These, among others, include the rising cost of doing business in Uganda. These challenges require a multi-sectoral approach to identify the right solutions. And I'm happy that EDNPA is here. He's the guru about these words, these high-sounding words, multi-sectoral and etc. And I'm happy that he's going to present a paper. He will talk about this a little more. Honorable ministers, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I want to conclude by reiterating government's resolve to support the full recovery of the tourism industry in Uganda. On my part, and on part of my permanent secretary, I wish to call upon all stakeholders to join the efforts of revamping and creating a competitive sector. Let us all refocus our minds on the challenge of promoting inclusive growth with tourism as one of the leading contributors. I wish at this point to thank you for listening to me. May God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know the pandemic has hit us hard, but kindly let us give the PS a bigger round of applause. Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, amidst us, people, partners that we work with, friends of the sector who have been with us through thick and thin, and allow me to recognize a few who are here. My colleague will also recognize others. We have the Ambassador of Italy who is with us. Please let's put a round of applause and recognize him. Thank you so much. We also have the Deputy Resident Rep of the UNDP who is with us here. People, you will see her. And then we have the Executive Director of NPA, that's National Planning Authority, who happens to be with us. Please, Dr. Mvawala. Oh yes, thank you very much for coming. We have the CEO of Uganda Tourism Board, Madam Lily, she's with us here. When Lily is here and it's WTD, she's also a host. But it is also not bad to introduce the host. We also have the country director of WWF, Dr. David Dooley, who happens to be with us. Please, Dr. David, if you're around, please stand up for recognition. Oh, yes. And then we have the country director of the East African Wildlife Society, Moses Esabu, he's here. I need to have a detailed interaction with you so that I get to understand exactly what you do under this umbrella. And then we have the Director Policy at the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, and this is none other than Stephen Asimwe. We'll be even hearing from him later this morning. We have the Director of Tourism and Business Development at Uganda Wildlife Authority, Mr. Stephen Masaba. But right now, Mr. Masaba is wearing a bigger coat. He's representing the Executive Director. Thank you so much for coming, Afande. And then we have the Executive Director of Ngamba Island. Yes. Dr. Joshua Rukundo, are you, my friend, Doctor? Yes. One of the smartest CEOs we have. Great, I like you guys, you know. That's cool. So you're welcome. Thank you for being with us. And then we have the director, Eye Opener Works, that is Martin Hiller. Please, thank you so much for being with us. Someone just next to Martin, please stand up for recognition. Yes. Karatunga Tours. This gentleman, as you can see, you can think he has just come from maybe Kidepo, those ends of Maseniko and Bokora. Yes. Thank you so much, and for being cultural. Yes, we appreciate that. We have Mr. Nuanyas now. These are people who have supported us a lot in tourism. Mr. Nuanyanzi. Thank you so much. He's from Nakau. And then we have the Director, Education and Social Services from Kampala Capital City Authority, Juliet Namudu Nambi. Juliet has always been with us. I recall when we are doing the beautification of the streets, Juliet, we really appreciate your love for tourism. Yeah, you really demonstrated that you are in for tourism. Then we have amidst us the Undersecretary in the Ministry of Tourism, who happens to have just made remarks, Mr. Kakula Kirome. Thank you so much for being with us. And then we have the Commissioner for Tourism Development in the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Madam Rosemary Koptaji also. Thank you so much for doing a great job. Ladies and gentlemen, we have quite a number of people. I haven't introduced myself, for example, but at an appropriate time I will, because I know some people are like, who is this one introducing others, and he can't have the courtesy of introducing himself. It is understandable that you question yourselves, but I will introduce myself at an appropriate time. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, let us receive the remarks from the resident representative of the UNDP. You are most welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister. As has been said, my name is Sheila Ngatia. I'm the Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP. I bring you greetings from Madame Elsie Atafua, the UNDP Resident Representative. She was to have been here, but she is attending another key event that is hosted by the government of Uganda. Today is the start of the Africa Climate Week. It is a continental, big signature event as we discuss this major issue of climate change, and Uganda is the host government, so she is there with other senior government officials. So please, you may also follow that virtually. It is on television, it is, there on social media, on different platforms. So I bring you greetings, and that is why she's not here. Honorable Martin Mugara, Minister of State for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Honorable Members of Parliament, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, ably represented by the Undersecretary, the esteemed officials of the Government of Uganda, including the CEO of UTB, Ms. Lilia Jarova, the Executive Director of NPA, Dr. Joseph Muvawala, Excellency Ambassador from Italy, the other members of the Diplomatic Corps and development partners, including other UN officials, the representatives of the private sector, PSFU has been introduced, Director Asimwe, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. I think we had a lovely coffee, buffet outside, so I'm hoping that there's a little bit of energy. So on behalf of the United Nations Development Program, and indeed our larger United Nations family, I am delighted to join you today as we stand together to commemorate the United Nations, the International World Tourism Day under the theme, Tourism for Inclusive Growth. Allow me, on behalf of UNDP, to extend a vote of thanks to the government of Uganda, and in particular the Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, for generously inviting UNDP to co-host this exciting e-conference today. The World Tourism Day is a unique occasion to amplify the conversation about the tourism sector's role in economic recovery and growth. It is an opportunity for a diverse range of tourism stakeholders, including the public sector, media, academia, development partners, and businesses of all sizes, to celebrate the achievements, to share best practices, and to explore how they can be more inclusive as the tourism sector rebounds here in the Pearl of Africa. Honorable Minister, before the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the tourism industry had demonstrated that it was a powerful lever to fight poverty, to promote social and economic inclusion of vulnerable groups. The tourism industry was contributing 6.2% of the country's gross domestic product and employing close to 600,000 people directly and many more indirectly. As has been said, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating social and economic impact on Uganda's economy, resulting in an additional 300,000 persons falling into poverty during this pandemic. The tourism industry has not been spared and continues to suffer enormously, with international tourist numbers down. Historically, tourism has shown a strong ability to adapt, to innovate, and to recover from adversity. But this requires new approaches and strong multi-level responses and strong partnerships. And what does this mean? It means targeted action and investment to shift towards green tourism. And with the right policies and programs and an enabling environment, tourism can once again provide decent jobs, contribute to building resilient, sustainable, gender equal, inclusive economies and societies that work for everyone. We commend the government of Uganda for the efforts to bolster the tourism industry through initiatives such as the institutionalization of a COVID-19 resilient tourism marketing strategy, which is designed to enhance market presence in key source markets and to create destination awareness in domestic, regional, and international markets. And also the initiative of the government to provide a 2-year waiver of the value-added tax imposition for upcountry hotels, among other measures. So, distinguished guests, the World Tourism Day affords us the opportunity to look beyond tourism statistics and to acknowledge that behind every statistic, behind every number, there is a person. And this is precisely the meaning and the essence of the inclusive nature of tourism. We therefore have a duty to ensure that as growth in the tourism sector returns, it is also positively impacting lives of Ugandans. Tourism was indeed Uganda's fastest growing sector before COVID, and COVID has had serious adverse socioeconomic impacts. And that means that Uganda should quickly and strategically reposition to better harness the abundant natural resources, the energetic and the youthful population, and the digital economy in order to recover. Allow me to share some initiatives that UNDP has deployed within the framework of our country program for Uganda and the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, both of which cover the 5-year period 2021 to 2025, and are supporting national efforts for socioeconomic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and the revitalization of the tourism industry. We are supporting the development and implementation of innovative solutions that enable youth and women-owned micro, small, and medium enterprises to recover from the impact of the pandemic. The first is a facility that we set up called the Rapid Financing Facility for harnessing nature and digital technology to stimulate the recovery and build a resilient tourism industry. I know, big title, what does that mean? So UNDP has appreciated that COVID has revealed the need to rethink the competitiveness and resilience models of the tourism industry. UNDP has therefore partnered with the Ministry of Tourism Wildlife and Antiquities, the Uganda Tourism Board, and the Uganda Wildlife Authority to implement this rapid financing facility, which is a $2 million initiative to harness nature and digital technology to stimulate recovery. The project is being piloted in the Rwenzori Tourism Development Area to support national efforts to recover the tourism sector through development pathways that create green jobs, to rebuild resilient livelihoods for youth and women. The project, as I said, is promoting recovery of the SMEs. It is supporting strategic reorientation of tourism policy towards inclusive green recovery and looking to enhance the capacities of national systems to boost the tourism industry and building an active innovation ecosystem. The project commenced through a UNDP and Uganda Tourism Board partnership with Mr. Joshua Cheptegei, the 5,000-meter and 10,000-meter celebrated world record holder and current 5,000-meter Olympic champion. And he led a team on an expedition in December 2020 to climb the Rwenzori Mountains. The expedition aims to showcase the beauty of the Rwenzori mountain range, promote domestic and international tourist visits to experience the mountain and the national park, to highlight the need for collective efforts to diversify Uganda's tourism product offer, to include mountain communities in the tourism value chain, while protecting natural and cultural resources, and to showcase the investment opportunities in the mountain destination, and to complement the efforts and the contributions of the government of Uganda and the private sector to build this inclusive, sustainable, resilient tourism industry. I can say that this expedition was a great achievement. And even here we have some Ugandans who trained very hard to reach the summit, Margarita Peak, which is the highest point. And among this is Ms. Lilia Jarova, the CEO of UTB. And also we're very proud as UNDP that one of our own, Lorna, also reached the Margarita Peak. I think this is a commendable effort. I don't know how many others, who else here in this room? Maybe we need to recognize those who have. Yes, fantastic. We have a number of others. Wonderful. Through this initiative, UNDP hopes to also contribute to rebuilding the tourism industry. Honorable Minister, we commissioned a professional video to showcase the treasure that is the Rwenzori Mountain, and we look forward to its official unveiling. And we hope that today we can get a chance to view the 3-minute version ahead of its official launch. And as Uganda participates in the forthcoming Dubai Expo, this is a great opportunity to showcase the beauty, the spectacular beauty of the Rwenzori Mountains and other videos that unveil the diversity and the beauty of Uganda to the world and to attract more international visitors to the country. So I really hope we'll get a chance, in the program, to see this 3-minute video. As the Permanent Secretary stated a few weeks ago, the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities and UNDP, in partnership with the Toro Kingdom, launched an exciting tourism product, Echoto Hampango, a cultural festival showcasing the kingdom's rich history and cultural heritage, exhibiting innovations that emanate from the wider Rwenzori region, marketing businesses and investment opportunities in that region, and providing a platform to engage in inclusive conversations on how to integrate culture and communities in tourism ecosystem. A rich calendar of events is planned for the rest of the year, and we look forward to getting more information on this from the ministry to especially attract domestic tourists. Another very exciting initiative has to do with Rolex. Rolex, which is a signature brand of Uganda. We are partnering with the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities and the Rolex Initiative to rebuild and promote Uganda as one of the top culinary tourism destinations in the region. We are training and equipping over 500 youth food vendors with skills and tools to operate their businesses competitively and meet quality assurance, hygiene, safety, and environmental standards. So this is taking Rolex to the next level. We are also working with the Uganda Tourism Board, Uganda Wildlife Authority, Uganda Wildlife Education Center on aspects such as monitoring and research in protected areas using drones to end poaching, the expansion of the children's space at the Uganda Wildlife Education Center in Entebbe, and this is also something that we all must look forward to in the next few months to be unveiled, designing an advanced e-grading classification system for hotels, which is very critical, as well as the development of a domestic tourism policy and area-based tourism plans, starting with the Rwenzori Tourism Development Area Plan that I spoke about. Another very interesting, exciting facility that we are working on here in Uganda is called the Youth for Business, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Facility. In August of 2020, on the occasion of the celebration of the International Youth Day in State House Entebbe, the President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, launched UNDP's Youth for Business, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Facility, which is an innovative financing and entrepreneurship set of instruments to promote impact-driven businesses and to engage enterprises in tackling youth unemployment by leveraging innovations to create jobs and livelihoods. This facility is a partnership with the Stanbic Uganda, with the government of Uganda, with BRAC and other stakeholders. To date, under this facility, close to $2 million has already been invested in supporting over 50 youth-owned small and medium enterprises with grants of up to $40,000 each in the sectors of agriculture and agribusiness, tourism, mining, renewable energy, manufacturing, ICT, creative arts, construction, and health. Honorable Minister, some of these youth businesses are within the tourism value chain, and we want to share some examples of these outstanding innovations that Ugandans, young Ugandans, are pursuing to contribute to the resurgence of tourism in Uganda. Karungi Crown Enterprises Limited is a tour company that offers tourism services, including the operation of a high-end tourism lodge, Kigambira Safari Lodge. As we know, over 95% of Uganda's tourism is based on nature and wildlife. And the low participation of communities in tourism value chain presents a danger to conservation, especially due to human-wildlife conflict. So in partnership with UNDP, Karungi Crown Enterprises Limited are undertaking an initiative intended to strengthen wildlife conservation through community engagement. Karungi Limited is integrating local communities around the Kigambira Safari Lodge into its value chain as suppliers of inputs, as employees, as service providers. Another enterprise, Bird Uganda Safaris, is a tour and travel company that offers a variety of tourism experiences to domestic and international tourists who are interested in birding, in nature and wildlife and cultural tourism. The eastern tourism development areas, particularly in Kidepo Valley and Pianupe, are experiencing significant growth in visitor numbers and investments in tourist establishments in the region, and particularly before the COVID pandemic. However, this growth is constrained by the absence of trained and skilled indigenous safari and cultural guides. So in partnership with Bird Uganda Safaris, we have mobilized and we're equipping over 100 young women in the Karamoja region with skills in nature, bird, cultural, and wildlife guiding. These trainees will also be equipped with skills in financial management, developing exciting tourism experience offers, and digital literacy. This initiative of Bird Uganda Safaris is expected to generate an additional 200 livelihood opportunities directly for communities which are offering homestays, culinary delights, and community walks. Another good example, Mlima Safaris and Agri-Tours is a full-service travel agency dedicating to providing corporate leisure and meeting services with a bias towards agritourism. Rural communities across Uganda face many complex challenges, including reliance on one source of income, subsistence agriculture, which is subject to weather vagaries. So to support rural communities diversify their sources of income and enable them benefit from the tourism value chain, UNDP is supporting Mulima Safaris and agri-tours to pilot agri-tourism, working with over 400 farmers in eastern Uganda to prepare appropriate travel itineraries for tourists interested in agri-tourism and developing their agri-tourism guiding skills. Through this initiative, over 1,500 direct employment and livelihood opportunities are targeted for young people in eastern Uganda. Another exciting intervention is with the Uganda Safari Guides Association, which is a member-based organization established by tour guides and specialists of tourism sub-activities, such as birding, butterflies, reptiles, and cultural tourism, to provide a platform to increase their visibility and recognition. USAGA currently boasts of over 1,000 members across the country, and it has developed a one-stop web-based portal and mobile for accommodation facilities intended to enable tour guides access markets, tourists for their services, and that tourists and tour operators can easily access tour guiding services from profiled guides. Over 1,500 tour guides, 80% of whom are youth, are expected to benefit from increased access to short-term employment opportunities through this. Another company is Tubayo Uganda Limited, which operates an online marketplace enabling people and tour operators to list unique travel experiences such as city tours, historical tours, safari, photograph, arts, and more. Tubayo's marketplace currently gives 310 hosts access to a market of 30,000 Tubayo users. In partnership with the UNDP, Tubayo is scaling its platform, which helps to spread the benefits of tourism. The platform takes advantage of continuously shrinking technology gap in rural areas, mobile phones, and internet to remove barriers. Tubayo removes the need for access to capital, office setup, high levels of education, and skills in management that previously hinder several young people's participation. And young people with talent and ability to host fun activities can just upload them onto the marketplace for Tubayo users to participate. So this is a unique technology platform that helps, to unlock and monetize these spaces and to use the passion and talents of youth to become hospitality entrepreneurs. Bwindi Mugahinga Conservation Trust is a trust established to conserve biodiversity and ecosystem health of Bwindi, Impenetrable, and Mugahinga Gorilla National Parks, two critical ecosystems that are a habitat to half of the world's remaining population of mountain gorillas in southwestern Uganda. So again, with support from UNDP, they're imparting knowledge and skills and enhancing the entrepreneurial ability of young people and communities living next to the park. Hands-on training in basket making, wood carving, production of assorted souvenirs from bones, horns, and volcanic stones is being done, including establishing village tourism trails and training tour guides in a bid to enhance the tourism experience at community level. Again, this is expected to result in creation of 200 direct employment opportunities for the Batwa youth to engage in business, and especially in the art and craft business. Mountain Slayers Uganda is a hiking club which is established to challenge the perceptions about the outdoors in Uganda. Idea was born out of the observation that there were few Ugandans who are climbing their mountains. And yet we have in neighboring countries, in Tanzania, in Kenya, large groups who are summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Kenya. Uganda is home to 5 of the 10 highest peaks mountains in Africa, including the Rwenzori Ranges, which has one of the most scenic and challenging mountaineering experiences anywhere in the world. However, just 6,000 visitors a year visit the Rwenzori, compared to Kilimanjaro, which receives more than 35,000 visitors annually. And what are two of the most important reasons for this disparity between Kilimanjaro and Rwenzori? One is a lack of sufficient safety measures, and two is a lack of regional and global exposure. So in partnership with UNDP, Mountain Slayers Uganda is training and equipping the mountaineering industry in the Rwenzori region with skill sets required to ensure increased and life-saving safety measures in the mountains. We have so many, Savara International Limited, which is developing a mobile application, Toro Online, to showcase and market the Rwenzori region's abundant tourism resources. We have ChargeCo Technologies, an energy solutions provider, which is making battery-powered devices more convenient and affordable. We have the Medical Concierge Group, a digital health and telemedicine company, which is piloting a telemedicine-centered medical service delivery ecosystem for tourists countrywide, which includes 24-hour teleconsultation services and on-demand delivery of medicines. We have Node Media Systems, which is engaged in developing cutting-edge solutions to solve some of the most complex problems, including development of a digital portal web that gives tourists a virtual tour of the major hotspots and resorts in Uganda, using a virtual reality 360-degree panoramic view of Uganda's iconic sites, and including an e-commerce shop. Under our environment and climate portfolio, we have also supported exciting eco-projects, including in Ishasha, where the world-famous tree-climbing lions are found. And even in the beautiful Kidepo Park, we have an eco-lodge that is a partnership with Uganda Wildlife Authority and the community. Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, I took a bit of time because we just wanted to highlight some of the businesses out there that are doing tremendous work in Uganda. And there are many of hundreds of others out there that are working diligently to recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and to take the tourist experience in Uganda to a higher level. We are also partnering with BRAC to increase access to employment and livelihood opportunities for 7,500 youth in 17 target districts with relevant marketing skills, apprenticeship opportunities, business support kits, etc. This, again, is another very exciting program with BRAC, which has been funded to the tune of $1 million. And again, also with the Association of Student Enterprises, NASE, we have partnered to identify entry-level opportunities to unearth and to nurture startups for a new generation. Honorable Minister, when we worked with the Association of Student Enterprises, they came to us with some fantastic ideas. And we set out to find a target of 100 ideas. Let us get 100 ideas from young people in Uganda. To our surprise, by the time this call closed, we had 4,800 unique ideas from the young people of Uganda. And with the vast majority of this in agribusiness, in ICT, in creatives. So our aim is to provide seed grants and incubation support to a number of these, but we call on other partners to join us to provide funding and seed capital to these thousands of startups, brilliant ideas. What they need is the support. We have also launched a Creatives Innovation Challenge to support up to 400 creative individuals and businesses with catalytic startup financing for new and innovating businesses with high potential for growth. The creatives industry, again, will be a key driver of socioeconomic recovery and livelihood opportunities, especially for young people. Finally, as I conclude, we're also implementing an SMEs for Trade initiative, to support small and medium enterprises to tap into the African market under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which was launched by African governments in January of this year. And we are aiming to promote awareness about the opportunities and to design innovative financing instruments to promote export by SMEs. This is an area with huge potential for the recovery of the tourism sector and Uganda's economy. And ladies and gentlemen, in the next few weeks, you will see a very vibrant discussion around this Africa Continental Free Trade Area and how Uganda can position itself within the region to be a leader, to take advantage of regional trade opportunities. As I conclude, Honourable Minister and invited guests, may I stress that as we collectively strive to build a resilient tourism sector, a tourism sector that promotes sustainable growth, inclusive growth, it is important that we prioritize certain solutions, and we must seize the opportunities as we rebound from COVID pandemic. Collectively, there needs to be a focus on solutions that provide increased access to affordable finance. 2, solutions that promote development of new, innovative tourism products and services across the supply chain. We need solutions that provide relevant skilling and support training institutions to deliver private sector-led curriculum that is inclusive and ensure that Uganda has top quality capacities for the services that are required for the sector. We need solutions that leverage ICT support in development of various online marketing and digital information products and services. And this will be through digital skilling, through infrastructure, and in this investment sector. We need solutions that strengthen business recovery through capacity building and financing to help the micro and small enterprises recover from the impacts of COVID and to remain resilient. We need also to enhance the knowledge sharing and learning by bringing together communities of practice to promote shared learnings among private and public actors. And we need to strengthen coordination among actors, private sector actors, state actors, and to promote youth and local community participation in the tourism sector. The rebounding of the tourism sector through these solutions is not an insurmountable challenge. It can be done. However, it cannot be done by any one entity alone. It cannot be done by government alone. Rather, it is a collective responsibility of us all as stakeholders, government, non-state partners. It needs a whole of society approach. We must look at the positive effects following the disruption of COVID-19 pandemic. We should ride on the energy and creativity that has been created. We are seeing increased innovativeness of Ugandans, as I demonstrated earlier, in efforts to explore business alternatives. We need to give attention to domestic and regional tourism increase. We need to embrace digitalization in the sector at all levels. I am therefore pleased to pledge UNDP's continued commitment to deepening the partnership with government, with private sector, civil society, academia, cultural institutions, community groups, the media, and development partners to co-create and to implement innovative, green, and inclusive initiatives to rebuild a resilient tourism industry in Uganda. Indeed, better days are ahead of us. So I commit UNDP's support to continue to advance Uganda's inclusive and sustainable growth agenda as we build forward better. Thank you for your attention, and with those long remarks, I wish you a happy Tourism Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It has been indeed a very good one. Long but very necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a huge round of applause. UNDP has been there with us, has been there for us. Through thick and thin, they are always there for us. So we are so appreciative, we are thankful, and please continue being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, the Minister of State for Tourism, Wildlife, and Antiquities.
Thank you so much, Masters of Ceremony. The Deputy, I don't know, I think if we sanitize because there's a lot of distance, maybe I could speak with, could you be having a sanitizer? Oh, thank you, Lily. Thank you. The Deputy Resident Representative, UNDP, the Ambassador of Italy here with us today, the representative of the PS, the Undersecretary, the CEO, UTB, the ED National Planning Authority, the representative of the ED of UA, the country director, WWF, the principal of our institute in Kasese, the Uganda Wildlife Research Training Institute, the CEO, Uganda Tourism Association, the Commissioner Tourism Development, members of the private sector, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. My name is Bahinduka Mugara Martin, like I was introduced earlier. And of course, I bring greetings from the Senior Minister, the Honorable Retired Tom Butime, who is in Hungary today, attending a conservation conference, and that's why he's not here with us, but his greetings to you all. Uganda is joining the rest of the world to celebrate the World Tourism Day on this 27th September under a theme, Tourism for Inclusive Growth. This theme underscores the potential of tourism in promoting opportunities for communities around the world, and the role that community engagement has in advancing sustainable tourism development. On this day, we recognize the power and potential of tourism to advance prosperity and drive inclusive and sustainable development. The tourism sector touches almost every part of our economies and societies, enabling historically marginalized people, those at risk of being left behind, to benefit from development both locally and directly. We celebrate this year's World Tourism Day in very unprecedented times, amidst a pandemic that has devastated the tourism industry. Its impact has manifested in multiple lockdowns, travel restrictions, increased mobility, and loss of life. These conditions have led to loss of revenue, jobs, and threatened the survival of the tourism industry. Tourism continues to suffer enormously under the COVID-19 pandemic. In the first 5 months of this year, international tourist arrivals decreased by staggering 95% in some parts of the world, and forecasts suggest a loss of over 4 trillion of global GDP by the end of 2021. This is a major shock for developed economies, and for us, the developing countries, of course, it's an emergency. According to the United Nations Tourism Organization, in 2020, international arrivals dropped by 73%, a loss of around 1 billion travelers, US dollars 1.3 trillion in export revenues, more than US dollars 2 trillion in direct tourism revenues, and placed over 1 million jobs, direct jobs at risk. The impact goes well beyond the tourism sector. Indeed, the massive fall in tourism arrivals was responsible for 40% of the world trade in 2020. In Uganda, the tourism sector has encountered major disruptions and loss since the pandemic began. To place it into perspective, prior to the pandemic in 2019, Uganda welcomed over 1.6 million visitors and received over 1.6 billion US dollars in tourism revenue. This was all cut to 1/3 in the following year, and the prospects of 2021 are equally still bleak. The impact of these disruptions on the tourism investment, private sector enterprise, and our conservation efforts is significant and requires support. And I want to thank the representative of the UNDP for the support and the commitment to continue supporting. We appreciate. Thank you so much. The debate about the role of the tourism sector in development has recently moved from an approach that focuses solely on the tourism sector role in reducing poverty to a sector that promotes inclusiveness and equitable distribution of wealth. Even before the pandemic, the industry grappled with questions of equitable growth as the value of the tourism dollar was not trickling down in a fair and proportionate way, of course, to the local communities. That's why the current policy direction of the Ministry of Tourism and government is to promote this equitability and contribute to a balanced growth of the communities. The tourism industry can only prosper if it engages the local population by contributing to social values such as participation, education, and enhanced local governance. For the sustainability of the tourism sector, the focus on inclusivity should mainstream 3 important pillars. The first, growth in tourism opportunities embracing dimensions of human capacity and infrastructure development, health and safety, accessibility, market coordination, and financing. The second pillar should focus on equal access to tourism opportunities, which explores equitable access to a number of services, including education, infrastructure, financing, information, and regulation across the region. Thirdly, we should consider the pillar of equitable outcomes to tourism opportunities, both monetary and non-monetary. The policy instruments and market dynamics should ensure that the stakeholders along the value chain, especially at the bottom of the chain, are adequately compensated for the resource endowment and efforts committed to the tourism economy. Government reaffirms her commitment to address the core challenges of the tourism industry, competitiveness, and inclusivity. Government is also focused on addressing the challenge of capacity building. Investment in human resource builds skills and competitiveness of the sector, and we commit to extend more resources to build a more competitive workforce. And of course, our appreciation goes to our development partners, the UNDP, the World Bank, and the European Union. Today we have our CEO for our institute in Kasese. We have another in Jinja that is training, of course, the best human resource that can be employed within our facilities and probably beyond, so that we can compete effectively with the other countries. Tourism is a private sector-driven enterprise, and would like to reassure the private sector of our support to facilitate of our additional investment into the tourism sector. Government has registered progress on the fronts of travel and Government has registered progress on all these fronts, and of course invites the private sector to invest more into the tourism sector in this country. To ensure visibility and promotion of Destination Uganda, government has committed a resource to engage international marketing firms to secure the US, the UK, German markets, and the German markets. Further investment to attract the Japanese, Chinese, Arabian markets has been secured. Government has invested in the branding process, and soon we hope to unveil a repositioning of our brand identity and promote the fresh look of the Pearl of Africa in the market. And of course, I want to thank UTB for the wonderful job done. I think when it comes out and you get to see, you'll appreciate what this could do if we marketed it well, especially targeting our domestic market here in Uganda. The COVID pandemic has accelerated our realization that the solid tourism market base is right here at home. We have therefore initiated many campaigns to promote awareness and travel in the domestic market, and we commit to do more. I call upon the private sector to focus on this logical segment by developing relatable products and the right pricing for this market. Of course, definitely, if we are going to enhance domestic tourism, we have to look at the pricings as well. The price of accommodation in most of these conservation areas is crazy high, and of course I want to call upon the private sector and the hotel owners that as we engage, consider, of course, the Ugandan who cannot afford so much money. And also want to thank you, Uganda Wildlife Authority for trying to open up space now, of course trying to open up more accommodation in these areas. So now we can have more competitiveness, hence a drop in price. Today, as we deliberate on this topical issue of tourism for inclusive growth, during this dialogue, let us strive to generate new ideas of promoting competitiveness and inclusivity for all. Of course, with those few remarks, you gave me only 5 or 10 minutes there. That's why I'm trying to rush through it. But most importantly, I want to thank the government of Uganda, led by His Excellency the President. Because you see, I know all sectors were, of course, hit by COVID. And even during the lockdowns, at least there was some window for with the tourists, or with the tourism business. I think you remember the previous lockdown, there was no movement among us with the locals, but he still said, no, I should leave the airport open for tourists to come in. Recently, we've had a very interesting debate, of course, with Ministry of Health and the rest, over mandatory testing, because I know a number of people are getting cancellations. But I still want to thank His Excellency, especially the Prime Minister, because we engaged. The Prime Minister first called us, of course, after raising our concerns. We engaged with the Prime Minister, engaged with Ministry of Health, and we saw how to probably make things easier for the tourists, such that this mandatory testing does not affect our business, of course, especially during this time of recovery. And of course, recently in Cabinet, His Excellency still put his foot down and said, I think the tour operators can agree with me. I wish to recognize our chairperson of UTB. Thank you for coming, Honorable Migereko. Yeah, so I was just telling you that the President did all he could and advised Minister of Health, please, I need a different way of handling my guests coming into the country, to the extent of even making a suggestion that if there were a possibility, he would rather pay, because by then it was $65, he'd rather use money from government and pay for the tourists the $65 so that he's not inconvenienced. So someone who has that much passion for the tourism, I think let's clap for him. Like we say, he's our #1 marketeer of Destination Uganda. With those few remarks, I want to thank you all. I want to thank our development partners, and I think we are going to continue engaging, like the Undersecretary introduced. Yes, I'm still new in the ministry, but I'm very old in the tourism sector. I love touring, I love moving around, and Uganda is the most beautiful country there is. I also want to implore, the Ugandans, especially the youthful generation, but I also want to thank them for traveling. If you moved across the country today, you'd meet a number of coasters moving all over the country, you know, because they are mobilizing resources as groups, trying to get discounts from these hotel owners, and then they are traveling into our destinations to also enjoy. So instead of going to Dubai and the rest, you know, there is that bit of commitment. I want to thank them, but I also want to implore them, please continue traveling. There is no beautiful country like the Pearl of Africa. Like someone named it, if a white man came and appreciated it, he had traveled all over Africa and said this was the best. I know there are other countries out there that are good, but not as good as this one. Please move out there. I was somewhere in a conference in Nairobi, and I told my colleagues, ministers, that if you claim you've traveled to Africa and you've not been to Uganda, which is the Pearl of Africa, then you've not traveled Africa. So I wish to implore the young people, please, government has put good road networks to most of these protected areas. Like I say, even the smallest car, if it's that takes a little bit of fuel, put in that little, drive to protected area and enjoy what this country has to offer. We are going to do our best to make sure that we negotiate fair prices for you and we open up more space so that accommodation is cheap, because it's still a challenge. Thank you so much, and I want to thank all the partners for the support. I wish you a wonderful day, and may God continue blessing the Pearl of Africa, Uganda. Thank you.
Join me, ladies and gentlemen, to give Honorable Minister a much more befitting round of applause. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for those beautiful and insightful remarks. You have rightly amplified the contribution of tourism to this economy and gone further to show what the sector needs to do for the much needed recovery. And you've given quite a number of examples. So really, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take this seriously. And of course, Honorable Minister also gave an insight on what the private sector needs to do, especially the hoteliers, in way of supporting domestic tourism, coming up with prices that will support or enhance our wananchi to visit our hotels. All these are strategies that the sector can really embark on to see that, yes, we get back on our feet. So thank you so much, Honorable Minister, and your words of wisdom will be taken seriously. Of course, we have the Secretariat that is taking note of every other thing that will support and be incorporated in our policy kind of decisions. So thank you. So allow me invite, before inviting my co-MC, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to also recognize the President of Uganda Tourism Association. She's here with us. Where is she? Maybe she has stepped out. Allow me also to introduce, to recognize the CEO still of Uganda Tourism Association, Mr. Kawele. Yes, thank you for gracing this occasion. The principal Uganda Wildlife Research and Training Institute has already been recognized, but still there is no harm in waving to, yes, thank you, we recognize your presence. And of course, the one and only, the CEO Africa Tembelea, Mr. Baluku Geoffrey, we recognize your presence. Thank you for accepting our invitation. So, yes, right away, Mr. Hangi, we can now roll down to the second other item on the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think now we are much warmer. But I did not recognize the presence of Mr. Samuel Edem Maitum from Uganda Development Bank. Please just wave. We are going to do it like this. We have discussions, paper presentations. I'll invite the participants to come and take the seats. And I'll tell them the person who will moderate the discussion. But before we go there, how about we relax a bit by watching this very short video that reflects more on why we are here. Thank you very much. DJ, please do justice by playing that video so that we can watch it before. I just want to be fair. I don't want to play it when these gentlemen are this side. So I want them also to watch. Yes, thank you. So I think the DJ is putting things right. So as the DJ puts the clips together, I think the clips are already put together, but he's playing them. We want to say that one of the clear ways of demonstrating that we work as a team in the industry of tourism is the composition of the people who are here, Honorable Minister. We've had the private sector is represented. Our partners, development partners are represented. The ministry is here with all the agencies under the ministry. We have the hosts who have always hosted us year in, year out. They have always been with us. So that is a clear demonstration that when it comes to this, we are always one. Nice viewing.
With vast wildlife and unique flora and fauna. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, an endowed tourism destination with extraordinary natural beauty and happy people, making it the friendliest country to visit. A home to one of the highest mountain ranges in Africa, the Mountains of the Moon, the source of the mighty River Nile, with vast wildlife and unique flora and fauna. This is Karamoja sub-region, one of Uganda's unique and most conserved areas where tourism that is inclusive manifests itself. The sweet thrill of change in the atmosphere, the scenery of the plains, and of course, the sounds of the jungle in Kidepo Valley National Park. Hush, listen to the sounds of nature.
Tourism is not only important to me, but also to the communities where I come from. The benefit that I've got from tourism, I've managed to educate my children, and one of them is now in year 1 in the University of Makerere. And I've also bought some plot of land within Karenga town. I would have said even my children in the future to join this job after I retire, because I can breathe, I can see animals, I can have friends from America, friends from UK.
Representing Karatunga as a tour operator for Karamoja. We benefit from tourism, of course, by creating income of revenue, but that's not where it ends. You know, we work together with the local communities, with tour guides, local service providers, different hotels, and at the same time, we also enable other tour operators and travel agents to sell a similar experience and all together build Karamoja through tourism.
Uganda area mene akabusa hina jokna ekwa yon dang to bibite aturiam itamete ada marangole kai kishidada lakini roko ekwa ngina ra kor ngina kolong it akabusa kakia.
Believe it or not, from the time a tourist starts planning a journey to any destination of their choice, the host destination begins to feel the impact.
When visitors come here to visit our village, they bring some money, and we get that money to take our children to school, and we enjoy with them everything. We have left even portion because of the donation they bring for us.
I've got money through guiding, not within Lorkul but outside other communities, especially the Ik community. Whenever I take the tourists there, they pay me what's called full day activity. And this money has helped me to buy the motorbike that I've been using. Like whenever I'm called in the park, come and take tourists or do game drives within the park.
Here, they don't wait for ceremonies to sing and dance. It's a hobby. It's part of them, and tourists from all over the world are attracted to this unique culture.
Abala ngini kwako ngaluzi yango ani bota para ke bu abolia engara ngindre pay jek reta ngindike ngini ko na kara no way.
Everyone has a role to play, from tour operators, the hospitality players, to the simple owner of a manyatta in this part of the Pearl of Africa.
I used to dig like some vegetables like beetroot, coriander, radish. Purposely, I have actually people to buy. Like some lodges I used to supply like dere, savannah, even spot hunting. They give me a support. I get also income from them, and I support also my family, and that's the way I used to survive.
I joined tourism when I was 21 years. I've rose from a housekeeper to a manager, and I'm happy having now 3 kids, and my family is very happy because I support them. The money I get from tourism, and they're happy.
I'm always paid something. At least I get a guide fee of 50,000. It was my first time to see the currencies called dollars. So all that money actually entered in my pocket because of this tourism.
Yaunyo, Pangna Yauni Rekidan, Yaunyo, Pangna Yauni Rekidan, Tobolia, Repedon, Peboliana, Nika, Marcatalahadi, it could be the Rolani Payok, and you put there with their Bulu Tokanaka, a potting Payoka Lakare, Yauna.
This is tourism that needs all of us. This is tourism that is inclusive. Keep traveling, keep changing lives.
Very interesting Uganda every time you want to see about the country, because everywhere you go, it is always amazing, right from the plains of Kidepo to the peaks of Renzori, always amazing, you know, right from the north to down in Mbwindi, interesting country. No wonder it is the pearl of Africa. And when Miss Lily is here and I forget to say the word,
Lady, Mama Janet Museveni, you are most welcome to Judiciary. Shall now continue to unveil the monument. His Excellency, thank you very much for performing that duty on behalf of all of us. Let's have that background interlude as we perform that function. So it's unveiled. Let's give a very hand clap. Allow me now to invite the Chief Registrar, who is the main mistress of ceremonies today, to come and take over the rest of the activities. Your Worship, you are most welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. His Excellency and Mama, plus the Right Honorable Speaker and the Honorable Chief Justice are making their way to take their seats, led by the Permanent Secretary to the Judiciary. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, you are most welcome to the home of the Judiciary at the High Court. In humility, I request all of us to stand up for the anthems. Thank you very much. We may resume our seats. We will now have a prayer which is going to be delivered by Reverend Father Cipriano Masembe, the in charge of Justice and Peace in Kampala Diocese. Reverend, you're most welcome to commit this function to the Lord.
Your Excellency, the President of Uganda,